500 years. For 5 centuries, we have been told that the Amazon was a green hell, a vast, empty wilderness where humans were just ghosts in the trees. We were told that before 1499, South America was a land without history. But while Europe was building cathedrals, the Amazon was building empires. Imagine standing on a paved highway, 150 feet wide, cutting through a city of 50,000 people. Imagine a grid of garden cities so advanced they engineered the very soil they stood on. This wasn't a forest. It was a masterpiece of human engineering. And then, look across the ocean. You see a man with a sharp blade and a silent mask. You've been told the samurai was a lonely, noble poet who would rather die than use a gun. You've been told a myth. In 1560, the noble warrior was actually a professional killer carrying a matchlock rifle. He wasn't meditating on cherry blossoms. He was a busy bureaucrat arguing over rice taxes and making secret deals in the middle of the night to stay alive. But before we go any further, drop a comment right now and tell us. Did you know the Amazon was home to cities larger than London? Or that samurai were some of the most tech-heavy soldiers of their time? We read every single one. Now, what you are seeing right now is not a painting. It is not a museum exhibit. It is not a Hollywood recreation. We used AI to travel back 500 years and rebuild these worlds from the ground up. Its highways, its crowded markets, its armor, and its light. Every frame you're about to watch is a reconstruction built from the latest LiDAR scans and historical records. We didn't imagine the hidden empires or the real samurai. We rebuilt them. Because these people deserve more than romantic myths and dusty maps. They deserve to be seen. This is what Brazil actually looked like in 1499. And this is the truth about daily life in 16th century Japan. Welcome to the history they didn't want you to find. Close your eyes and think of the Amazon rainforest. What do you see? You probably see a green hell. You see endless trees, jaguars, and perhaps a few small tribes living in simple huts. You have been told for 500 years that this place was untouched wilderness. You've been told a lie. Imagine it is the year 1499. You are standing on the banks of the Xingu River in what will one day be called Brazil. But you aren't standing in a jungle. You are standing on a paved, 150-foot wide highway. To your left and right, there are massive walls of earth and wooden palisades. As you look toward the horizon, you don't see a few huts. You see a city. The reality check. Complexity. In 1499, the Amazon was not a forest, it was a garden. Archaeologists are now finding garden cities that housed up to 50,000 people each. For context, London at this time only had about 60,000 people. These people, the ancestors of the Kikuro, didn't just live in nature, they engineered it. They created something called terra preta, the black earth. The natural soil of the Amazon is actually very poor for farming. It's acidic. But these empires created a super soil by mixing charcoal, bone, and manure. This soil was so powerful it stayed fertile for 1,000 years. Even today, farmers in Brazil hunt for this ancient, black gold left behind by an empire that wasn't supposed to exist. Walk down that 150-foot highway. Notice how it is perfectly straight. These people didn't have GPS or compasses, yet they connected dozens of satellite towns to a central mother city, using a grid system that would make a modern city planner jealous. There were bridges over the wetlands. There were massive artificial fish ponds. They didn't go out and hunt for food. They farmed the river. They built wooden weirs to trap thousands of fish, keeping them alive in water warehouses until they were needed. So, why do we think it was just trees? In the 1540s, a Spanish explorer named Orellana sailed down the river. He wrote about great cities and white walls and millions of people. When people returned 50 years later, they found nothing but jungle. They called Orellana a liar. But Orellana wasn't a liar. He was a witness to an apocalypse. European diseases, smallpox, and the flu traveled faster than the explorers. By the time the next Europeans arrived, 90% of the population was dead. Without humans to prune the trees and clear the roads, the Amazon did what it does best. It ate the cities. The vines grew over the plazas. The trees burst through the highways. When you look at the Amazon today, you aren't looking at nature. You are looking at an abandoned, overgrown graveyard of one of the greatest empires on Earth. Now, let's travel across the ocean. It is 1560. You are in Kyoto, Japan. When you think of a samurai, you think of a lonely, noble warrior. You think of a man who spends all day meditating on a cherry blossom and would rather die than act without honor. You think of a sharp katana and a silent mask. Forget everything you've seen in the movies. The samurai myth is a romantic ghost story. The real 16th century samurai was something much more terrifying and much more human. The weapon myth. First, let's talk about the katana. In movies, the samurai uses his sword for everything. In reality, using a sword in a 16th century battle was a sign that something had gone horribly wrong. The sword was a sidearm, like a pistol is to a modern soldier. If you were a high-ranking samurai in 1560, your primary weapon was a bow or a long spear called a yari. And by the mid-1500s, the most important weapon wasn't a blade at all, it was the gun. Japan in the 1500s produced more gunpowder weapons than almost any country in Europe. The noble warrior wasn't hiding from technology, he was embracing it. He was a professional killer who used the best tools available. What about seppuku and honor? We are told samurai never switched sides. In reality, the 16th century was called the Sengoku Jidai, the age of the country at war. It was an age of lower overthrowing the higher. Betrayal was the national sport. Samurai switched sides constantly. If a lord looked like he was going to lose, his generals would often make a secret deal with the enemy in the middle of the night. It wasn't about dying for your master. It was about staying alive for your family. Daily life, the smell of history. Let's step away from the battlefield. What did your day actually look like? If you were a lower-ranking samurai, you weren't living in a palace. You lived in a small, drafty wooden house. Your life was governed by one thing: rice. In 16th century Japan, rice was money. Your salary was measured in koku, the amount of rice it takes to feed one person for a year. You didn't get a paycheck, you got a pile of grain. You then had to sell that grain to a merchant who you probably looked down upon, but who was actually richer than you, to buy clothes, sake, and soy sauce. And it was loud. Japan was undergoing a commercial revolution. Markets were exploding. You would hear the clatter of wooden sandals, *, on stone, the shouting of fish sellers, and the constant ringing of bells from Buddhist monks. What did you eat? No, it wasn't fancy sushi. You ate brown rice, pickled radishes, and miso soup. Almost every day, meat was officially banned by Buddhist law, though many samurai cheated by eating wild boar and calling it mountain whale. You spent your time doing paperwork. Being a samurai in 1560 was 10% fighting and 90% administration. You were a bureaucrat with a sword. You spent your afternoons tracking taxes, settling disputes between farmers over water rights, and making sure the local roads were clear. Why do we get these stories so wrong? Why do we see the Amazon as an empty forest and the samurai as a poetic myth? Because history is written by the survivors and the dreamers. The Europeans who discovered the Amazon wanted to believe it was empty so they could claim it. They turned a busy civilization into a wilderness to justify taking it. The Japanese of the 1800s, living in a modern world, wanted to look back at their ancestors and see noble heroes instead of messy soldiers. They invented Bushido, the code of the samurai, mostly after the samurai were already gone. The truth is always more crowded than the myth. In 1499, the Amazon was a roar of voices, the smell of cooking fish, and the sight of white-walled cities reflecting in the river. It was a place of engineering and ambition. In 1560, Japan was a place of gunpowder, shifting loyalties, and the constant stress of calculating rice taxes. It was a place of survival and business. When we strip away the myths, we don't lose the magic of history. We find something better. We find people who feel like us. People who haggled over prices, people who worried about the weather, and people who built massive things simply because they wanted to survive the night. If this changed the way you look at the world, if you can suddenly see the cities beneath the trees or the person behind the mask, then you are starting to see history for what it actually is. It isn't a list of dates. It is a mirror. The people of the Amazon didn't know they were ancient. The samurai didn't know he was a legend. They were both just trying to live their lives on a Tuesday morning. Drop a comment below. Which myth bust shocked you more? The hidden cities of Brazil or the gun-toting samurai? We read every single one. Subscribe, because next week, we are going somewhere even more misunderstood. The journey is just beginning.